when we started the concept and we were thinking of a name, I just thought, well, how does this work out and make me feel? It makes me feel strong. It makes me feel stronger in every way. It just made perfect sense. I was 26, working in marketing in the past, running nightclubs on the weekends. Like, nothing was really too serious, or nothing really meant anything to me from a working perspective. It was always make money, have fun, that's life. So much hard work, launching every class, closing at the end of the day, and that first studio ended up winning Best Studio globally 3 years running. It gave me this beautiful realization of what hard work actually can do. The marketing campaigns that are coming through, the innovation that's coming through, the new tech we're building, the new equipment we're putting in, that differentiation and innovation piece, that's what's going to keep us here for the next 10, 20 years.
What have you now injected into Strong that you feel like, empowers these franchisors?
We're not copying anyone, we're not following anyone, we're just trying to get better and better and better.
For people who haven't met you, could be customers of Strong, people have been following you on socials, even when you're doing those Adidas stunts. I guess, how would you best describe yourself to people who just don't know you?
I don't know how you knew about the Adidas stunts, but that's amazing. Mate, probably actually a bit of an introvert, pretty dialed into my work. I don't do a lot outside of Strong. It is my everything at the moment. But yeah, bit of an introvert, and then, mate, on the side, it's just family, my wife, my son, and that's it. I spend most of my days working away, and the other time is just chilling out with family. So pretty basic, I would say, at this point.
Nice. I said to you earlier, before we got started, that I fucking love what you're doing. And I said that because I think it was 2010 or 11, I was in Vegas. I was partying there with Rob Deutsch. And for people that don't know, Rob Deutsch, co-founder of F45, had some big nights. And then I think it was 2011, or I forget, maybe it was that year, but we were in Sydney, and I remember I was in Double Bay, and I was at this Thai restaurant having lunch, and he came in and he started telling me about this F45. There was a place in Paddington, I think that was their first studio, and he was running me through the concept, and I was like, this is interesting. And then it's just impressive to see how that evolved. And so I guess I wanted to understand from you, being a franchisee at F45 and then that transition to, franchisor now, what's that look like?
Yeah, mate, that's a great question as well. And it's something that my experience at F45 I'll always value, to get that kind of hardcore franchisee experience, particularly when the brand wasn't that big when we started. I think we were my first F45 was number 10 in the world. So think about it now, there's probably, 500 to 700 studios globally. So we came in very, very raw. There weren't a lot of systems, there wasn't a lot of sort of know-how, and we kind of had to figure it out ourselves. But incredible experience. First time I would say I've had to really work in my life. I was 26, had been, working in marketing in the past, running nightclubs on the weekends. Nothing was really too serious, or nothing really meant anything to me really from a working perspective. It was always make money, have fun, that's life. And then you open up a studio, and it's still to this day, I would say, probably the hardest period of my life work-wise. The hours, 12, 15 hours a day, launching every class, closing, at the end of the day, and just so much hard work. So really rewarding. When we got to that level, we ended up having that first studio end up winning Best Studio globally 3 years running. It gave me this beautiful realization of what hard work actually can do. And then we rolled on to our second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth. And luckily, myself and my business partner, Mark, we managed to sell out pre-COVID and focus on this sort of beautiful new concept called Strong Pilates. And yeah, but mate, the learnings, the importance of that relationship between customer and gym owner or franchise owner, that stuff was invaluable. And yeah, we kind of had to figure most of it out ourselves.
What was the secret success code to get that studio to crank number one globally for F45?
Yeah, you can't really put it down to one thing. We were interesting. I used to run a nightclub down the road in South Melbourne. The studio was in Port Melbourne, and my role at the nightclub was actually to look after celebrities, I'm the guy with the bottle of vodka that's doing whatever and looking after them. So when we launched, we got the PR. We would just get the people that we were looking after at the nightclubs in to F45, and we'd get the PR, we'd be in the papers, we'd do all that sort of thing. But that was good at the start, and then it grew a lot more intricate than that. The community was the biggest success factor. So having basically referrals, the brand wasn't very big. As I said, number 10 studio, probably number 2 in Victoria. And just building that community and knowing the members and being there for them through that period, it was amazing just how that snowball effect happened. It's so fucking hard to open a studio with 20 members, right?
Yeah.
But you get to 40 members, and then you get to 80 members, and you get to 160 members, and there's this snowball effect. And that's why now, like with Strong, we look at pre-sale as being so important, because if you open the doors with 300, 400, 500 members, there's this natural kind of thing where people bring people. So if you open full, you generally have this beautiful runway to a successful business. So for us, it was doubling down on the people, the relationships, and just knowing the names of their dog and their birthday and what their husband's name is, and then getting their husband, all that sort of thing. It was real grunt work, like hardcore hustle.
So it seems like you built like this phenomenal community.
Yeah, it really was. I think we were running classes of 72 people at this first studio, and then as we would grow, myself and Mark, we would go onto the next studio, and we'd put a really great team in place that would manage that community, and then we'd move on to the next studio and we'd do the same thing, and then we'd move on to the next studio and do the same thing. So it wasn't one of those things that was easily systemizable or process driven. It was very much get in there and do the work and go from there.
You said 20 members. I mean, that wouldn't have been breaking even. That would have been profitable.
I think break even for us, what was our rent? 120K a year, probably maybe 100 to 120 members.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was difficult, but when you're in that position where you've got this lease over your head where you have to pay money, and you're not at break even, it's the pressure. I mean, it builds diamonds, right? It makes you work and work and work, and that's what we did, and we were relentless, and then we got there, and man, it's just opened like door after door after door. We just found the more we put in, the more we get out of it.
So F45 would have been like a serious apprenticeship for you guys.
Yeah, the greatest apprenticeship to date. You look at the brand, how much it blew up. There was, within a year or two, we had studios, other F45s within I think our closest one was 1.9 kilometres from us. So they were just opening up absolutely everywhere. So we also had to get a little more strategic with the way we did things in terms of our marketing, the way we nurtured our communities, because not only did we have, and there wasn't a lot of competition for F45 around then, but we almost had competition of other F45s in the area. So we had to really nurture our community, but incredible apprenticeship. It was really when social media started taking off as well, and I think it was also a little bit about right place, right time. I think what Rob got right was the halfway point between a gym membership and personal training.
Yeah.
So instead of $70 a month or $70 an hour, it was $70 a week, and in a semi, hands-on environment. But yeah, all the things worked. They got it right, and it blew up.
I love that. So reversing back, so you sold your 6 studios F45?
Yep.
Sold out at a good time?
Yeah, sold out 2019, sold at the top, which was really nice. Great time for us to, capitalise on what we sort of, all the hard work over the years, because, mate, it was never like, let's take the profits out and buy investment property or whatever. It was always roll it into the next one, roll it into the next one, roll it into the next one. So, yeah, got out 2019, and then in the background, we were working on this Strong Pilates concept.
Okay, so as you were exiting, you were both thinking around the next opportunity, the next baby.
Yeah. I'd my housemate at the time, she showed me this row former online, and it was It was a roller attached to a reformer, effectively. And I'd broken my ankle and I was doing Pilates for rehab and I'd fallen in love with reformer, but I felt like I needed that little bit more. Like I just wanted to sweat a bit more. I found Pilates as great as it is physiologically, I found it a little bit boring. So when I saw this reformer, I jumped on a flight to the States. Mark, my business partner, jumped on a flight to the States and we tried this machine. It's like a 10 reformer bed studios. It was quite small in Orange County. Tried it, loved it. Most brilliant, excruciating, endorphin rushing workout I'd ever done. And thought, geez, I need to bring this back to Australia. But also in the back of my mind, and myself and Mark had a lot of conversations about this, we thought it does need a fair bit of work from a brand perspective, from a customer experience perspective, from a programming perspective. So we had this idea of recreating the format, using the machine, but building it into a franchise model.
So how did you go through that process of, I guess, redesigning that format? So you obviously identified the reformer. You signed exclusivity with this person?
Yeah, so we have the rights for the reformer exclusively globally. That one studio in Orange County actually closed down during COVID, and we were the only ones with the reformer then, and now we have exclusive rights globally. Today we have 70 studios. There's 25,000 people training at Strong, and there's 150, 200 on the way. We were discussing before, we have 77 franchise agreements signed in the US, so it's a big part of what we're doing. But long story short, we got the license for the reformer and then started working on the concept.
So when you guys flew over there, you and Mark, were you already planning on rolling out a franchise to some capacity?
Yeah, mate. We launched on November, 5 years ago today. And our first franchise opened in December. So it was built to be franchised from day one.
The person that you got the exclusivity, the rights, are they just super stoked with what you've done with their machine?
I hope so. The first few years it was a little bit tumultuous. Like I think maybe he thought we were recreating it and maybe not doing it justice or being or not using it properly, for instance. But now to see the growth and I guess, the data is undeniable in what we've been able to achieve and in terms of members and our growth rates for studios and things like that. So he's super stoked now. He's very excited for us to come into the US and we've kind of grown this interesting relationship. In the past, where at the start it was very much, I think I know better, you think you know better, and now it's kind of got to this partnership point. So it's quite a nice flow now.
How long did it take you guys to work out all the different, like the sequence of classes, lighting? I want to talk about the scent. Like how long did it take you to work all that
out? It was a work in progress, and I know, COVID wasn't a great thing, but what actually happened was we ran what we believed to be decent programming for a couple of months, and then we shut down for effectively on and off for 2 years. So we got to get all the information that we had for the concept that we'd created and work on, work on the product, work on the service offering. But all the lighting and the tech and everything like that's in there, that was very deliberate and that was done from the start. That was myself and Mark sitting with creative agencies, working on concepts. Who is the brand based off? What do we sound like? What do we want our customers to feel? And how what's the experience going to feel like? And now it's sort of this really cool dynamic of R&B, slow beats on the reformer, or when you're doing strength, to deep house on the roller where the lights come down and it's high energy. And then after the workout, someone will get a cold towel that's been soaked in eucalyptus oil, and you've got the tech on the screen. So, people can, and the tech was such a great inclusion and one that I copped a lot of shit for initially. A lot of traditionalists with Pilates I absolutely got hounded for it. But we brought on the tech and we brought on the screens, effectively a PowerPoint presentation. So the instructors will click through the exercise as they're doing the workout, and the members can see what the exercise is on the screens. When we brought that in, particularly our male conversion went through the roof. And what we realised was so many people didn't know how to do Reformer Pilates, and it was one of those things that people were a little bit scared of and intimidated by. So we brought in the tech, and that doubled as like, instead of trying to look around the room and watch what everyone else is doing, they could see this nice visual, this person. We even do like bird's eye view and all that sort of thing. And that was just such a breath of fresh air when we brought that in, and we saw the numbers climbing, and just, you know, people who had never done Pilates start doing Pilates, and yeah, it's awesome.
It's unreal. So the customer experience seems to be like super, super important for you guys, right?
Yeah, massive. It's actually a beast of a thing. Like you can approach it from the angle of, you know, how clean is the studio, to at what point do they get a sales call? What does their online journey look like as well? So everything from what's the first text message look like before they train? At what point in their 10-day trial are they getting another message? Are they getting followed up by the studio manager or the studio owner? It's quite an intricate process that we've built out over the years. It's quite, I guess, the customer experience without the tech, I think is incredible, and it's taken a long time to kind of get to where we are now. But the only way to really refine it now is with tech.
What about results? I mean, I didn't ask this regarding F45, like that top performing studio. You're obviously getting, like, the community was solid, but you're obviously getting results for people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and now our mission is we want to be the heroes of low impact training globally. That's our goal. So for us, it's not so much about getting lean and ripped, although that is one outcome that you get. It's more people training stronger for longer. So the whole longevity piece for us is massive. And that's sort of what we're getting out of people. We get a lot of, we kind of have no competition, but we're kind of competition to everyone. We'll get people from F45, we'll get people that do spin classes, a lot of ex-athletes. They come in, they're a little bit beaten up, or they just want to try something else. And yeah, they kind of come into this weird sort of format that is very, very high intensity, but low impact. I guess the cool thing is we're using spring-loaded tension. They're getting all those amazing benefits of Pilates. So, you know, your core strength, stability, mobility, all those sort of things. And yeah, we want people training with us for the next 20 years, and that's a goal.
I love that. What's the mix-up between like male and female?
Yeah, good question. We started at 11% male, which is, I know it doesn't sound like a lot. It's actually not too bad for Pilates. We then brought on 4 male ambassadors, 2 AFL, 2 NRL, and we're very deliberate in our branding to be gender neutral, to be sort of very welcoming for everyone. Pilates is traditionally a little bit fluffy, so and we've grown that now to 18%.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's taken 3 years.
And did you expect it to hit 18% in 3 years?
I was hoping so, yeah. It's probably more now. Probably checked maybe 9 months ago, but it's been a big focus, and we were just discussing like the Byron Bay studio, which is both of our local studio. Probably half the classes are male in terms of like male to female split.
That's insane. So why is that? I mean, you mentioned that is like a very popular studio, right?
Yeah, very popular.
And obviously you're mentioning like Byron Bay, 11,000 people. Like, why do you think that's booming so hard?
They just do a great job with community. Number one, it is a lot easier when you've got a franchisee or a studio owner who is there and present and leading the way, and they've got a great team, and you know everyone in your community. It's the heroes of the communities. When they open up studios, they do really, really well. Generally, like if someone's wants to buy a Strong studio and they're like, well, I just want to make a whole lot of money and I'm really busy, so I'm not going to have that much time, they're the wrong sort of person for us. Byron works so well because not only are they heroes in their community, their standards are very high. The studio's immaculate. Even they have a great little ambassador strategy where they'll have, influencers coming in and training. But what I love about what they do is, it's a prerequisite when they train, they have to put a story up. And they're quite strict on that. And I really like that they are accountable and they run a very tight ship. So yeah, it's a combination of all those things.
How do you qualify? Like you mentioned what you don't like for someone, if someone's too busy as a franchisee, but like, is there like a commonality between like, the people who are getting these franchises?
Yeah, mate, I think you'll like this one. Our top performing studios in the network, the people have all come from sales backgrounds, believe it or not. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, so they're good with people, good at building the community, good at upselling, like just, yeah.
And you don't specifically need to run a gym to run have been in the fitness space to own a Strong. But yeah, generally it's good communicators or people that can manage very, very well also. We find that to be a massive one. But yeah, it's not for everyone and it's not an easy thing sometimes. Running a studio, it's similar to like how I was talking with F45 and sort of how difficult that was at the start and the hard work that was required. And that's a huge sort of, that's probably the top end of the spectrum, but it is a lot of work. And so the people that are willing to work it get the most out of it.
I heard in an interview that you did just regarding F45, like with any franchise, right? There was a limitation around, what you could do. And I heard, for example, I think that you offered a car for something. I think was that in Victoria or Auckland?
Yeah. We offered a car, so we did that for the pure reason to dangle a carrot and get people in and make it fun and exciting. And it was this big challenge, and the goal was the person, not who loses the most amount of weight, but who loses the most body fat and maintains muscle in context to their body size, won the car. And we ran that for all 6 of our studios. So that was very cool, and that was just thinking outside the square a little bit. I don't think F45 loved us doing that so much because it was such a big prize and whatever. But that did exceptionally well.
So my question is like, that obviously you saw that as a limitation when you were at F45. What have you now injected into Strong? That you feel like empowers these franchisors to kind of like even just do things that maybe you didn't have the ability to do when you were a franchisee at F45.
Yeah, great question. Super open to basically all suggestions. And quite often we'll get a franchisee coming to us saying, hey, I want to try prenatal classes. And we'll go, okay, that's fine. Let's run it as a case study and let's see how you go. And then if it works, we can then execute for the entire network. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't. What I try and do operationally from our perspective is just be ahead of the curve anyway. So we're innovating at a rate where the franchisee shouldn't feel the need to catch up, hoping that the marketing campaigns that are coming through, the innovation that's coming through, the new tech we're building, the new equipment we're putting in, it's at a pace where it's so fast that the franchisee is just keeping up and not feeling like they need to do something else to bring in more revenue or do something else to feel different in the market. That differentiation and innovation piece, that's what's going to keep us here for the next 10, 20 years. How many products or services do you know have stayed the same for 5, 10, 15, 20 years? It's next to none. So, yeah, I would like to think that we're in a position that franchisees won't feel like they have to create their own version of the brand.
The brand is strong, a bit of a pun, but I mean, it's powerful. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, how did you get that Instagram handle? Like, I was like, because I had to look at it a few times going, Strong? Like, how'd you grab that?
Mate, I was just buying up one-word handles. As I remember my friend who owns Koala mattresses, he bought koala.com and paid an absolute fortune for it. I remember him telling me this story. And I was sort of thinking in the context of domains, if one-word domains are going to become very valuable, well, maybe one-word Instagrams will. So I bought Strong just from some random guy from overseas. I had RAM as well, which I lost to a hacker. I had a few different ones. But Strong was something I held on to, and I thought, I'll just tuck this away. And then when we started the concept and we were thinking of a name, I just thought, well, how does this work out and make me feel? It makes me feel strong. It makes me feel stronger in every way. It's quite an enduring workout, not only from the rowing or riding aspect, but also holding time under tension and mixing progressive overload and heavy weights into that. It's quite an enduring workout, and you do need to be mentally strong to get through it.
Okay.
So it's a very durable word. It's all encompassing. So it just made perfect sense, and luckily I had the handle.
I love that.
Yep.
Let's talk about franchising. So for people listening to this who don't understand franchising, I guess I want to understand what's the pros and cons, for someone who's just, whether they're looking to get into, Strong or just a franchise in general, why would you be looking, why would someone want to get into a franchise?
Yeah. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but look, it's the cons are that really you have to pay a fee to the franchisor. For us, it's 8% of revenue as a fee, and then 2% marketing. But the pros are you get this turnkey solution. You get when I think about our onboarding process and what we deliver and our systems, and it is literally everything is there. The amount of documentation and training and everything that goes into it, it's quite a handful. But if you execute properly and you follow the playbook, you can open a studio that's firstly it's got brand equity, so there's a strong name behind it. Secondly, you can open, and having that means you can probably open with 200, 300, 400 members and at capacity, which then means you can open a business that is highly profitable from day one. You're making substantial profit from day one, and you get a return on investment much quicker. So there is so much upside to franchising. And I mean, as I said, I'm totally biased. I started at F45. That's where I got my start and made my first amount of money. But to me, it makes perfect sense to do it yourself, and I have tried it myself. I tried doing a standalone yoga studio, and it just failed. I didn't have the capacity or time to manage the team or create the workouts, or it just wasn't there. I'd rather have the systems built for me.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, running a business is challenging in itself. I think marketing is very challenging, sales, and so to run into as you said, a turnkey solution like yours. But I think yours is quite unique, right? In this low impact training, you don't have competition. You come from, or you guys come from, you and Mark, a very strong background, and you've executed hard in F45. And I mean, it just seems like a really compelling opportunity for people. So it must be are you guys getting a ton of inquiry?
Yeah, we are. I think Mark was telling me he's already knocked back over 50 in the US, 50 people want to buy the franchise. It's the Pilates space, particularly right now, is really hot. I think Solid Core in the US, who would be one of our biggest competitors over there, they just sold for $800 million with 140 studios or something like that. So the Pilates space is huge. Last year, it had, per class pass data, Pilates was the number one genre for bookings anywhere in the world. So the demand is increasing. The supply is not exceeding demand, where with some sort of fitness concepts or some genres, at the moment, supply is exceeding demand, which means there's going to be casualties and studios will close. But it's a really compelling sort of business model. It's a really nice place to be in as well. And adding conditioning, rower, bike, adding a strength component as well, so progressive overload, and stopping, resetting, lifting heavier, and actually getting physical adaptations where people are building muscle, they're growing a booty, they're doing all those things. That's been probably the best thing for us because we're not competing with Pilates studios. We're not really competing with anyone. We're just creating this service offering that is spring-loaded tension, where it's heavy weights and there's a little bit of cardio, so it's great for your heart. And we're not copying anyone, we're not following anyone, we're just trying to get better and better and better. I'm probably pretty pessimistic by nature, not pessimistic, but I always want us to continually improve and strive for more. So, yeah, it's developing really well. But, the Strong that launched 5 years ago is not the Strong that exists today. It's gone through so much R&D and improvement.
Well, thank God that you broke your ankle and you had that housemate who showed you that reform. I mean, it's amazing how just the dots connect, hey?
Yeah, mate, it is. It's amazing. And right now I feel like it's right place, right time. Just want to keep focusing on the product and getting better and doing our franchisees justice as well. And yeah, but mate, it's very exciting.
If a franchisee wants to sell, is there a process that has to get approved by you who the buyer is?
Yeah, it's happened a couple of times. We've actually never closed a studio, which is pretty cool in 5 years. But yeah, look, it's legally we're supposed to sign off on it, which is fine. But generally, they'll either go to a broker or they'll shop it around internally, and that's generally where we see the most. I guess the biggest conversion for internal selling. It's one franchisee to another. The good operators will come in, fix up any sort of thing that's causing the studio to not be high performing, or they'll come in and just improve whatever's there and existing and they're away. So
nice.
Yeah.
Do you choose do you help choose real estate for franchisees?
Yeah, we kind of give the franchisee a brief. They'll generally give that to a bunch of different agents. But yeah, when we look at a site, decide on a site, we'll work with them on a feasibility study. Is it right? Is it in the right area? Does it fit 20 row formers? Is there parking? Will it actually be approved by council? All that sort of stuff. So we're not picking the sites, but we're advising.
Let's talk about the States. I saw online that you guys are busting out in the States. How's that whole, experience been?
Mate, my business partner Mark is doing an incredible job. He's been there since the start of the year. He handles all the sales calls.
Wow.
He's doing it all on his own. We do have a little bit of a team over there, which is great, but really, really exciting. I don't think I fully respected or understood the size of the US. Literally, California is bigger than Australia. And when you look at that from a franchising perspective and the opportunities that are there, it is incredible. So at the moment, it's more about getting these first, we've got one open, but getting these first 10 to 20 up, ensuring they're thriving communities, highly profitable. Also learning from, there is a degree of needing to localize, not only for the US, but for each state. So all the messaging, the marketing messaging, the creative, it can be different state to state. Texas is a very different place to California. So there's a lot of those learnings at the moment, but really exciting. Just trying our best to get it right and sustainable, and more practice responsible franchising instead of trying to open, 100 at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
So you've got 75 signed studios in the US?
77 signed franchise agreements, and then we'll roll out. We're hoping to do about 30 corporate owned, so 30 of our own across Florida, hopefully.
What's the goal with how many units you guys want in the States?
Yeah, it's kind of endless. We did a feasibility, and it said something like you can get 1,400 sites, which is not. I don't by any means want to get there, but. I'm not even sure. It's more about how sustainable can we do this, and can we grow at the point that we are without bringing on investment or anything like that. We're still self-funded.
Wow.
So we want to continue to grow this thing. We enjoy and just appreciate the fact that we don't have investors breathing down our necks saying you have to open 5 a month, 10 a month. We need a return on our investment. There's none of that. So we just want to continue doing this at the pace that we're super comfortable and do a really, really good job. So where we land, I don't know.
It's amazing you guys bootstrapped this business. I didn't know that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have private equity like barking down you, trying to potentially cannibalize and open up so many units everywhere.
Yeah, every week we get an email from PE right now, but yeah, it's such an interesting space, and it's still a little bit unknown to us, I'd say.
Do you have any mentors in the, I guess, around that kind of you look up to and collaborate with to kind of just keep steering you?
Mate, I've actually got a business coach who has been incredible. He's a psychologist and a business coach, which has been very, very helpful. But he has taught me so much in terms of leadership, the way even when things are extremely stressful, and they are, there's exceptionally difficult times, and then there's times where, things are great. But being able to drop anchor in those high stress situations, do a small meditation, and just reassess and then sort of make decisions. It's been incredible. Strategically setting up the company from a leadership perspective. What does my team look like? What does my structure look like? All that sort of thing. Yeah. So no real direct mentors as such, but I do have this fantastic coach. And I was not an advocate for coaching at all. So, but he's been fantastic. But mate, the first few meetings was all about psychological testing and getting to know my personality and all that sort of thing, which was super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you were a personal trainer, right, earlier on?
Yeah, mate, I went pretty hard on the qualifications at a young age. I was a personal trainer. I did a Bachelor of Marketing, Master's of Commerce. I was trying to do a million different things, but I was a PT from about the age of 18, and then fell out of love with it. Got into marketing, loved brand marketing, fell out of love with the industry I was in, and then eventually came back and combined the two together, which has just been like, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
It's just something I really enjoy. And I know you asked me, at the start of the podcast, who are you, whatever. And honestly, right now, it's just family and work, because work is just so gratifying at the moment. I genuinely enjoy it. So, I wish I could go play golf or something, but I get bored.
Because the reason I asked that is like when you were personal training, you obviously coaching people, and then you never thought you'd get a coach. But it's interesting that dynamic, how you were coaching people, but then on the receiving end, it wasn't something that you would potentially expect.
Yeah, I mean, not from I always saw the physical benefits, but probably not the mental benefits and having someone actually talk through your structures and your problems and all that sort of thing. I always thought, I've been to uni, so I learned this stuff and I can handle it. I can revert back to, innovation life cycle and business models and whatever. And it's not true. You need to be able to unload onto someone, but more importantly, unload onto someone who is unbiased and has your best interests at heart. I find the bigger we get, I do feel that a lot of people generally do want something now from you, and a lot of people come out of the woodwork. And so I'm very particular with who I confide in. And yeah, it's been almost 2 years now, and I think from my leadership sort of perspective, I think I've come a really long way.
When you think of leadership, like what comes to mind?
I would say knowing what's best at the time. So, for example, when we started Strong, myself and Mark had to learn the marketing, the movement, the programming, the legals, whatever else. We're in every hand of the business, but what got you here won't get you there. So now I think good leadership is actually identifying what your role is and having the ability to lead people and empower people to do their role.
I love that. Yeah, self-awareness, it's important, hey? How big's the team at Strong?
We've got about 20 HQ staff and about 500 instructors globally.
I love that. And so your role with Mark, like how do your roles differ?
It's interesting. We bounce off each other so much. I'm probably right in it in terms of the ops perspective. I look after sort of marketing and performance, and I chat to a lot to our movement team and product and that sort of thing. And Mark's sole focus right now is the US and growing the US. But the good thing is I'll often come in and drop a grenade and blow the office up. You know, the good thing is Mark, his temperament is just it's so good, and he calms me, and we kind of make the big decisions together. So we'll send each other 20, 30, 40 WhatsApp messages. So as much as I'm in ops, I would say he's fundamentally helping me from a CEO role, just on the decision-making side of things. We just bounce back all day. So yeah, it's working so far. It's worked for 10 years, and I think that's quite rare with business partnerships. So yeah, hopefully I'll stop blowing things up and we keep going the way we're going.
When you said Mark's temperament's good,
yep.
Run me through that. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so in terms of, I think his ability to read people is exceptional, and that can be from staff that maybe might need some help or support or aren't doing their role. That can be from a franchisee who wants to buy in. It can be from a supplier who's promising the world. He reads people exceptionally well, and sometimes, you know, there's things that happen in business all the time where you can get angry and frustrated and all that sort of thing, and Mark is very calming in his temperament. He looks at things methodically, whereas I can generally blow up and get carried away. And this is a lot of the work that I've been doing with my coach now is, you know, I'm not by any means aggressive, but I do take things personally and get emotional. So it's nice to have him in my corner that I can bounce off and then reset and then make the right decisions, not emotional decisions, which generally don't work.
Yeah, because I'm a bit like you. Like, I sometimes just go off a bit, and I've always just admired people. Like, when I meet really people who are peaceful, calm, very measured, I've always just admired those types of people.
Yeah, it's and I think it's something you can learn. I think it's something you can continue to work on. But yeah, when it means so much to you and you're in it every day, and I'm in this, you know, 10, 12, 15 hours a day, I do take it personally, and at the end of the day, I shouldn't.
I want to talk a bit about marketing.
Yep.
Just from someone looking outside, like the brand looks amazing, and it just seems like you guys are really nailing that marketing. What are you guys doing? Do you feel like that is, you know, different, unique? It's got an edge, you know, that other people, you know, aren't.
There's two components. So there's B2B, so that's you growing the franchise network, and then there's B2C. So from a B2B perspective, we have pulled back on, you know, the digital ads where it's like buy a franchise, buy strong, own a strong, all that sort of thing. And what we're actually focusing on is the results of the studios that are open and heroing those studios. So it's more about just opening good studios with thriving communities, and we hero them, and that is our marketing for B2B. It's so organic. It works so much better. You're not putting the hard sell on anyone. We don't feel like we're in any rush to sell to anyone, and that's been super, super helpful. From a B2C perspective, this gets super complex. I think, you know, the brand, you have this period where you're the new guys and you're the cool kids, and for us, we need to maintain that sort of brand kind of identity, but also become mainstream. So now our marketing is very, very different. It is very, very inclusive. We would still do the random, like, cool campaigns. We just did a huge breathwork session on the beach in Burleigh, you know, with the Pilates workout. We do all that sort of stuff, but we're also now focusing on things like beginner classes. So getting people in that maybe don't have that sort of fundamental fitness background, and the marketing needs to cater to that. So I wouldn't say it's a straightforward strategy now. It's very much aligned to the different sort of demographics that come in and train at Strong. But look, our messaging overall, it's low impact, it's high intensity, it's Pilates, it's rowing, it's strength, it's a one-stop shop, and people seem to be loving it.
Do you get inspired by any, like, brands or individuals regarding marketing?
Good question. I actually love and we worked with them recently. I love the way LSKD go about their marketing. It's that user-generated kind of crowd fuck the place and just like it, just that sort of vibey. I just love the way it's very guerrilla marketing and viral, I find. So I love the way LSKD go about it. I love how they sort of work on their creative. I speak to Jason, the founder, quite a bit. They're one from an Aussie perspective that I love, and they're another brand that's going into the US. Yeah, mate, I can't think of too many at the moment. Yeah, not sure.
You just ideate yourself. I'm assuming you're creative in the sense of you're coming up with ideas constantly and just bringing them to life, right?
Yeah, I mean, ideas are great, but you also need to execute on them. So I think, it's for us, we're sort of running our own race. So I don't feel the need to kind of look at someone and go, let's copy that or do that. It's very organic. You know, we spend a lot of time with our team looking at the workouts, studying the workouts, looking at our members, thinking what will they love, what do they want, you know, what's next, and that's where a lot of the ideas sort of come from.
Shifting back again, you said Mark was on the sales calls in the US, and you obviously mentioned he's good at reading people. Is there a specific reason why he's on those calls? Like, are you guys really trying to just nail that implementation of bringing on those right people in the US, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I guess Mark's role is to identify the right people. So yeah, he's on every call. He does every discovery. We call them discovery meetings. So when a lead comes through and they're sent all the information, Mark then jumps on a call and effectively analyses if they're the right fit for the business. And it is that nice, given how many times he's done this and how, I guess, effective he is at this. It's that just assurance that we know people coming through who are going to be our partners, effectively our business partners, that they're going to be good, and they're going to have the same values as us, and they're going to put the work in. And so mate, it's been great.
What happens if someone's like not performing like a franchisee to your standard? Like, what happens?
Well, our performance team will come in, have a look at that. It can be a number of reasons. You can look at the data and they'll get a report. Sometimes it may not be enough leads. Sometimes they have enough leads coming through, but they're not converting high enough. And if that's the case, generally it's a customer experience problem. But it's all about analysing the data and then finding out what's actually wrong in the studio. Is there no parking? You know, is there has the studio manager just checked out and they just don't want to be there? And you can't really. I hate speculating. It's the worst thing in the world because you can sit there and say, this studio is doing bad. I think it's because of this. But at the end of the day, speculating gets you nowhere. And 9 times out of 10, it's actually something else. So really we focus on data. If that studio is underperforming, we give them all the resources. We get our team in, HQ come in, support them, and generally we can get them up and going. But it's also difficult and this doesn't happen very often now, but if the franchisee's moved interstate or they've checked out of the business completely, that would sometimes mean, well, we sell it. And then we'd advise that they should sell, and then they'll come in and generally a franchisee in the network will buy it and then build it up again, give it the care it needs, and we're away.
Yeah, it's good that you guys come in there and just diagnose with them and, just look for solutions and, just get, I guess the intention is to get to a better outcome, and you guys like support that. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's franchising's a really intricate game. It really is. There are so many different elements at play. You've got your marketing department, you've got your performance department that looks after underperforming studios and high-performing studios. You've got the academy component that brings on all new instructors that have to go through our course, and half of them fail, at times. You've got all the support systems so that if there's ever any issue, whatever it is, they have a point of call and we can solve that. And then, mate, there's so many layers on layers and layers on top of it. And that's why that whole what got you here won't get you there. It's fine for 10, 20, 30 studios to kind of do things a little bit ad hoc and to have one staff member here that can help with this and but you cannot grow without systems. beyond 20 or 30 studios, like if you're going to scale, you need systems in place. You need, as shit as it sounds, you need that hierarchical kind of management structure as well, where you've got people who are accountable for their roles. And it's been a really interesting sort of year, because we've kind of flipped from, kind of cruising along and doing things a little bit ad hoc to now we're this like super system with processes in place and bringing on tech that can help us, and bringing on software that can help us, and bringing on more and more staff. And it's really quite amazing. 500 studios scares the hell out of me, to be honest, but we'll see.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't be short of an SOP. But I mean, I guess the systems you got in place now, you think would support that scale out to get to 500, right?
That's the idea. Yeah, I'd like to think so. There may be extra support staff and things like that, but I'd like to think, with 70 studios, I'd say with the same team, I'd like to think we can get to, 200.
What's the future now? Like in fitness, we were talking earlier again about just, you're very involved in this space. Like what are you seeing as like trends coming up, or what's popping up for you?
Yeah, obviously the recovery space is pretty big. I think I saw you in an ice bath the other day. Yeah, mate, that's sort of one segment that's really coming through, and I love, and something that we've integrated now into our own studios. Some studios now have bolt-on, mini recovery studios within them, so ice bath, sauna, that sort of thing, hot cold therapy. But right now, as an industry, it really is Pilates and it's strength training. I mean, so if you look at recovery, Pilates, strength training, I'd say they're the three things that are emerging as sort of market leading genres. Beyond that, it looks like, a lot of aerobic based concepts like spin and that sort of thing is they're kind of going backwards a little bit in growth, and there's sort of less and less people doing that. But they're sort of the three pillars I would say right now that are having their day. You've got all the integrated wellness stuff as well. I know you've got the new Aura ring coming out, and there's all sorts of the tech side's massive, and we will eventually probably plug in with something at some stage. But it's interesting.
Well, you guys have two of those three pillars with what you do at Strong. Would you ever think about integrating recovery into what you guys do to some degree, or?
Yeah, well, we literally we have two studios now where it's self-service recovery.
Oh, sick.
And they have an ice bath, and they have traditional sauna, infrared sauna. I also want to throw a warm plunge in there as well, just for relax, maybe a bit of magnesium in there. But yeah, it's pretty cool when you have a class of 20 people that finish a Strong session, and then they can all go across and do their cold plunge and hot cold therapy. So we've designed this bolt-on sort of concept for studios that have that little bit of extra 30 square meters, 50 square meters, 100 square meters. So I'm super keen on it.
I love that. Well, Michael, thanks so much. It's awesome seeing what you guys are building. Like it's inspiring, and I'm looking forward to reading in the papers or online. Just if PE does invest in you guys, or when you're ready to accept that, it's going to be phenomenal to see what transpires. So congrats.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.